All right, let's settle in. Grab a drink, get comfortable, because this is a long one. This is the story of how my picture-perfect marriage was shattered by a single photo and a reflection in a window. And I swear to you, by the end of this, you'll be checking every picture you ever get sent. It started, as these things so often do, with a lie wrapped in the mundane. A business trip. It was a Tuesday morning, the air in our kitchen thick with the smell of coffee and the comfortable silence of a couple who had been together for 7 years, married for 4. Jessica was buzzing around, a whirlwind of nervous energy and expensive perfume, packing the last of her things into a sleek, black carry-on.
Okay, I think that's everything.
She said, ticking off a mental checklist.
Laptop, chargers, the presentation flash drive. God, I hope this presentation goes well. Mr. Henderson is a nightmare to pitch to.
I leaned against the counter, sipping my coffee, watching her. Jessica was beautiful in that effortlessly chaotic way. Her blonde hair was pulled into a messy but somehow chic bun, and she was wearing one of my old band t-shirts and a pair of yoga pants. Yet she still looked like she could be on a magazine cover. She was an architect, a rising star at her firm, and these trips to Chicago were becoming more frequent. I was proud of her, genuinely. "You'll kill it, babe." "You always do," I said, and I meant it. "Henderson won't know what hit him." She came over and wrapped her arms around my neck, pressing a soft kiss to my lips.
Thanks, Mike. I'll miss you. 3 nights is going to feel like a month.
"It always does," I agreed. "Just call me when you land, okay?"
Of course.
She promised. The Uber honked outside. She grabbed her bag, blew me one last kiss from the doorway, and then she was gone. The house fell silent. It was a good silence, a comfortable one, or so I thought. I worked from home. I'm a graphic designer, so I was used to the quiet. I put on some music, settled into my office, and dove into a branding project for a new client. The day passed in a blur of Pantone colors and vector logos. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jessica.
Landed, so exhausted. The flight was bumpy. Heading to the hotel now. Miss you already. XOXO.
I smiled. "Miss you too. Get some rest," I texted back. An hour later, another message. This time, it was a picture. It was a selfie of Jessica, half smiling, looking tired but happy. She was sitting on the edge of a large, plush-looking hotel bed. The room behind her was generic but nice. King-size bed with a crisp white duvet, a dark wood headboard, and a large window overlooking a city skyline at dusk. The caption read, "Hotel Life. Finally checked in. Wish you were here to order room service with me." It was a sweet photo, a normal photo, the kind of photo millions of people send to their partners every single day. I looked at her face, at the familiar curve of her smile, and felt that warm, comfortable feeling of love. I was about to type a reply when something caught my eye. A tiny detail, a flicker of wrongness in the periphery. It was the window, the big floor-to-ceiling window behind her. It was dark outside, so the glass was acting like a mirror, reflecting the interior of the hotel room. And in that reflection, I could see things that weren't in the main photo. My heart gave a little thump. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. I've always had an eye for detail. It's part of my job. I see things other people miss. Misaligned text, a color that's one shade off. It's a blessing and a curse. I pinched and zoomed, my thumb sliding over the cool glass of my phone screen. The image became pixelated, blurry. But the reflection, it was just clear enough. I could see the reflection of the bed she was sitting on. I could see the reflection of the lamp on the bedside table. And I could see another person. It was a man's silhouette. He was standing near the window out of the direct shot of the selfie, but perfectly captured in the reflection. He was holding up his own phone, probably taking a picture of her taking a picture of herself. It was a distorted, shadowy figure, but it was undeniably a man. A cold dread, sharp and icy, began to creep up my spine. My breath hitched in my chest. No, it's nothing. It's a bellboy, a concierge, someone from room service. The excuses came fast and furious, my brain desperately trying to build a wall against the horror that was starting to seep in. But the figure wasn't in a uniform. He was wearing a casual shirt, and he was standing there so comfortably, so familiarly. I zoomed in again, pushing the resolution of the photo to its absolute limit. My thumb was shaking. The man's face in the reflection was a blur of pixels, impossible to make out. But there was something else. Something on the bedside table, next to the lamp. It was a man's watch, a heavy silver watch with a distinctive blue face. And I knew that watch. My blood ran cold. My stomach twisted into a tight, painful knot. I had seen that watch 100 times. I had complimented him on it at our last Christmas party. It belonged to Mark. Mark, her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she'd sworn up and down was just a friend. The one who conveniently worked in Chicago. The one whose name would sometimes pop up on her phone, followed by a quick, "Oh, it's just Mark, you know how he is," and a dismissive wave of her hand. I dropped my phone on the desk. The clatter echoed in the silent room. I stood up, my legs feeling like they were made of lead, and walked to the kitchen to get a glass of water. My hand was trembling so badly I could barely turn on the faucet. The photo was a lie. The business trip was a lie. The whole damn thing was a lie. She wasn't alone in that hotel room. She was with him. I thought the photo was the worst part. I was so wrong. What I was about to uncover over the next 48 hours would not just break my heart. It would completely dismantle my reality. And honestly, if you've ever had that gut feeling, that cold dread in your stomach, drop a comment below. I seriously need to know I'm not the only one who's been through this kind of hell. For about an hour, I just paced, back and forth from the living room to the kitchen, a caged animal in the home we had built together. Every object I looked at felt like a betrayal. The photos on the mantelpiece, us smiling on our wedding day, us on vacation in Italy, us laughing with our dog, Buster. They all seemed like props from a movie I didn't realize I was in. My mind was a chaotic storm of denial, anger, and sickening grief. It can't be. It's a mistake, a different watch, a coincidence. But it wasn't a coincidence. Deep down in that place where your gut instinct lives, I knew. The way she'd been a little too jumpy about her phone lately, the late nights at the office that were becoming more frequent, the emotional distance that had crept in so subtly I'd barely noticed it, writing it off as stress from her job. It all clicked into place with a horrifying, deafening snap. I needed to know more. I needed proof. I needed to see how deep the rabbit hole went. Our lives were digitally intertwined. Shared calendars, a shared Amazon account, a shared iPad that mostly sat on the coffee table. My hands were shaking, but a cold, methodical rage was starting to take over. The hurt was still there, a raw, gaping wound, but it was being insulated by a layer of pure adrenaline. I was no longer a husband. I was an investigator at the scene of a crime. I picked up the iPad. My fingerprint unlocked it instantly. I started with her photos. The camera roll was mostly innocuous. Pictures of Buster, screenshots of recipes, a few selfies. Nothing. Then I checked the recently deleted folder. And there it was. A handful of photos deleted just yesterday before she left. They weren't explicit, but they were intimate. A photo of her and Mark, laughing over drinks at a bar I didn't recognize. Her head was tilted onto his shoulder. A screenshot of a text conversation with a contact named M. The messages were flirty, full of inside jokes I didn't understand. And one photo of a receipt from a jewelry store. A bracelet. One I'd never seen. My stomach churned. This wasn't a recent slip-up. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This had been going on for a while. Next, I opened her email. I felt a pang of guilt, a feeling of violating her privacy, but it was quickly bulldozed by the need to know the truth. I typed Mark's name into the search bar. Dozens of emails popped up. Most were from months, even years ago. Old college friend stuff, just like she'd always said. But then I saw the more recent ones. The subject lines were innocent enough. Project follow-up, quick question, redesigns. But the content was a carefully coded second life. Project follow-up was about their next business trip. A quick question was about where they should have dinner. They were talking about their affair in corporate jargon, hiding it in plain sight. They had flights booked to Chicago on the same day, a hotel reservation, a single king room at the Wyndham Grand Chicago riverfront. And there it was, the confirmation, black and white on the screen, a PDF from the hotel. Confirmation number 7XB491A3, guest name Mark Renshaw. Additional guest, Jessica Miller room. Type Premium King Suite, Riverview. My breath left me in a rush, as if I'd been punched in the gut. Additional guest. It was all planned. The work trip was just a cover story, a meticulously crafted lie designed to allow them to spend 3 days together in a luxury hotel suite, all on her company's dime, no less. The audacity of it was breathtaking. I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to talk to someone, to get this poison out of my head before it consumed me. My first thought was to call her, to scream at her. But what good would that do? She would just lie more, deny everything. I needed to be smart. I picked up my phone and called the one person I knew I could trust. My best friend, Will. He picked up on the second ring.
Hey man, what's up? Kinda late.
My own voice came out as a broken croak. Will, something's happened. I could hear the shift in his tone immediately. The casual greeting was gone, replaced by concern.
Mike, what is it? You sound awful. Is everything okay?
No, man, nothing is okay, I said. And then the dam broke. The words came tumbling out, a frantic, disjointed mess. I told him about the photo, the reflection, the watch, the iPad, the emails, the hotel confirmation. I just kept talking, pacing my office like a lunatic. The iPad still clutched in my hand like a piece of evidence. There was silence on the other end of the line for a long moment when I finally finished. I could just hear him breathing.
Mike, holy shut.
He finally said,
Are you 100% sure?
I'm looking at the hotel reservation right now, Will, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. It has both their names on it, a premium king suite. How much more sure do I need to be?
Okay. Damn. I'm so sorry, man. I don't even know what to say.
There's nothing to say, I said. I needed to tell someone. I feel like I'm going crazy,
Listen to me.
he said, his voice firm, pulling me back from the edge.
What are you going to do right now?
I don't know. Smash every plate in the kitchen? Get in the car and drive to Chicago? Call her and just scream?
No, you're not going to do any of that.
He said calmly.
You're not going to give her the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. You have the evidence. You have all the power right now. She doesn't know that you know. That's your advantage.
He was right. As much as I wanted to unleash a hurricane of rage, he was right. I needed a plan.
You need to document everything.
He continued.
Take screenshots. Forward those emails to your own account. Print it out if you have to. You need a record of all of this. Then you need to just breathe. Wait for her to come back. And you confront her calmly with the facts. You don't let her wriggle out of it. You don't let her gaslight you.
The conversation went on for another hour. Will was my anchor in the storm, talking me through the practical steps, letting me vent, reminding me to breathe. By the time we hung up, the wild, chaotic rage had subsided, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. I spent the next 2 hours doing exactly what Will said. I screenshotted everything: the photo, the deleted pictures, the emails, the hotel confirmation. I forwarded it all to a new, secret email address I created. I saved it all to a flash drive, which I then hid in my desk. As I worked, I found more. I logged into our shared Amazon account. Her purchase history showed deliveries to an Amazon locker in Chicago. A bottle of expensive champagne, a set of silk lingerie, a brand and style I'd never seen her wear. They were all delivered 2 days ago, waiting for her, waiting for them. The sickness rose in my throat again. This wasn't just a trip. It was a romantic getaway, planned, prepared, and paid for. The final piece of the puzzle, the one that truly broke me, was in her Uber account, still logged in on the iPad. I looked at her trip history. I saw the ride to the airport that morning, and then I saw the ride she took after landing in Chicago. She hadn't gone from O'Hare to the Wyndham Grand. Her Uber had taken her from the airport to a residential address, a condo building in Lincoln Park. I typed the address into Google. The search results popped up, and my world tilted on its axis for the second time that night. I clicked on a public records database. The listed owner of the condo at that address was Mark Renshaw. She hadn't even gone to the hotel first. She had gone straight to his apartment. The hotel was for show, for the fantasy. But the reality was, she had a whole other life there, a whole other home. I closed the iPad and pushed it away from me, my hands now steady. The shock had worn off. The pain was still there, a dull, heavy ache in my chest. But mostly I felt empty. The woman I had loved, the life I had believed in, was a phantom, a ghost. I looked at the clock. It was almost 2 a.m. I knew I wouldn't sleep. I sat there in the dark, in the quiet of our home, and I waited. She had 2 more nights of her business trip, 2 more nights of her secret life. But I knew her secret now, and I was going to be waiting for her when she came home. The next part of the story is where things get truly insane. So if you're not subscribed, now's the time. You don't want to miss what happens next. The next 2 days were a masterclass in psychological torture. I existed in a strange limbo, a ghost in my own life. I went through the motions. I answered work emails. I walked the dog. I ate food that tasted like cardboard. But all the while, my mind was replaying every moment, every lie, every piece of evidence. Jessica's texts kept coming, each one a poisoned dart.
Ugh, day 1 of meetings is done. My brain is fried. Wish I was home cuddling with you and Buster. Just had dinner with the team. So boring. Can't wait for this trip to be over.
Each message was a carefully crafted lie, and I had the receipts. The team dinner was, I knew, a romantic meal with Mark. The fried brain was from a day spent with him, not in a conference room. I responded with curt, non-committal answers. Glad it's going well. Talk soon. Kay. My brevity seemed to go unnoticed. Or more likely, she was too preoccupied to care. That was perhaps the most insulting part, the sheer arrogance of it all. The assumption that I was so clueless, so blindly trusting, that I would never suspect a thing. On Wednesday night, the second night of her trip, I almost broke. She sent another photo. This one was of a fancy-looking cocktail on a bar with the city lights twinkling in the background. Team celebrating a successful pitch. Thinking of you. I stared at the photo, my thumb hovering over the call button. I wanted to call her right then and there, to say, "Who's taking the picture, Jess? Is it the team, or is it Mark? Are you at his condo, or did you finally check into the hotel room that you booked together?" But Will's voice echoed in my head. "Don't give her the power. Wait." So I waited. I channeled all my frantic energy into something productive. I started to separate our lives quietly and methodically. I went through our finances. I opened a new bank account in my name. I started making a list of all our shared assets. It was a cold, detached process, but it kept me from spiraling. It gave me a sense of control in a situation where I had none. During this time, I also had to talk to my dad, Chris. He and my mom had been married for 40 years, and he was my rock. I drove over to their house on Thursday morning, needing a dose of his quiet wisdom. He opened the door and his warm smile faded the second he saw my face.
Michael, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost.
We sat at his kitchen table, the same one I'd done my homework at as a kid, and I told him everything. I laid it all out, just as I had with Will. He listened patiently, his hands wrapped around a coffee mug, his eyes never leaving mine. When I was done, he was quiet for a long time.
I'm sorry, son.
He said finally, his voice heavy.
There's no pain quite like that. It's a betrayal of the deepest kind.
I don't know what to do, Dad, I confessed, my voice cracking for the first time in 2 days. I feel so lost. I thought we had a future,
You still have a future?
he said firmly.
No, it just might not be the one you planned. Right now, you're in the eye of the hurricane. It's all chaos and noise. But the storm will pass. And when it does, you'll have to decide what's left standing and what you want to rebuild.
He reached across the table and put his hand on my shoulder.
But whatever you do it with your head held high. You didn't break these vows. She did.
His words didn't fix the gaping hole in my chest, but they shored up my resolve. He was right. I wasn't the villain in this story, and I wouldn't act like one. Friday arrived, the day she was due to come home. She texted me that morning.
Morning, last day of meetings, then I'm heading to the airport. Flight lands at 7 p.m. Can't wait to see you.
The 3 exclamation points felt like a final twist of the knife. I took a deep breath. See you then, I replied. The day crawled by. Every tick of the clock was a drumbeat counting down to the confrontation. I cleaned the house. I took Buster for a long walk in the park. I tried to make everything seem as normal as possible. I was setting a stage. By 6 p.m., my preparations were complete. The screenshots and printouts were in a neat manila folder on the coffee table. I was calm, terrifyingly calm. The emotional storm had passed, leaving behind a cold, clear certainty. At 7:15 p.m., I heard her key in the lock. The door swung open, and she walked in, pulling her carry-on behind her. She looked tired, but she was smiling.
I'm home.
She called out, her voice bright and cheerful. I was standing in the living room waiting for her. The expression on my face must have stopped her cold. Her smile faltered.
Mike, what's wrong? You look pale.
She dropped her bag and started walking toward me, her arms outstretched for a hug. I held up a hand and she stopped, a confused look on her face. We need to talk, I said. My voice was even, devoid of any warmth.
Okay.
She said slowly, her eyes darting around the room, sensing the tension.
Scary voice. Did I forget to pay a bill or something?
She tried to laugh it off, a nervous little chuckle. Sit down, Jessica, I said, gesturing to the couch. She sat perching on the edge of the cushion, her bag still by the door. I remained standing. I felt like a lawyer about to cross-examine a hostile witness. How was your trip? I asked.
It was good.
She said a little too quickly.
Long, you know. Meetings, pitches, the usual.
The usual, I repeated, letting the words hang in the air. So you stayed at the Wyndham?
Yes, of course.
She said, though a flicker of unease crossed her face.
It was nice. Good view of the river.
Good, I'm glad, I said. I walked over to the coffee table and picked up the manila folder. Her eyes followed it. You sent me a photo on Tuesday night, I continued, my voice still unnervingly calm. From your hotel room.
I did.
She said, her voice now barely a whisper. She knew. She had to know where this was going. I opened the folder and took out the first printout. It was the selfie. I held it out for her. This one. She glanced at it.
Yeah, it's just a selfie, Mike. I was tired.
I know, I said, but my work, I'm a designer. I notice details, little things other people might miss, like reflections. I watched as the color drained from her face. She looked from the photo to my eyes, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear. Tell me about the reflection in the window, Jess, I said, my voice hardening. Tell me about the man standing behind you. Tell me about the watch on the nightstand. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She was cornered, a trapped animal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She stammered, her eyes unable to meet mine.
It was probably just a bellboy or something.
The lie was so weak, so pathetic, that it was almost laughable. The dam of my composure finally broke, not with a flood of tears, but with a torrent of cold, hard facts. A bellboy, I said, my voice rising. A bellboy wearing Mark Renshaw's watch? Her head snapped up. Her eyes were wide with panic. Don't lie to me, Jessica. Not anymore. I know everything. I threw the contents of the folder onto the coffee table in front of her. The printouts scattered across the wood surface. The hotel confirmation with both their names. The screenshots of their emails. The receipt for the lingerie delivered to the Amazon locker in Chicago. And the final damning piece of evidence. The screenshot of her Uber ride from the airport directly to his condo. She stared at the pile of paper, at the undeniable proof of her betrayal laid out before her. The silence in the room was absolute, broken only by her ragged breathing. The lies were over. The truth was out. And our marriage was about to end. Right here, in our living room. She looked at the papers on the table, then back at my face. Her expression shifted through a dozen emotions in a matter of seconds. Shock, fear, denial, and then finally a chilling sort of resignation. The fight went out of her.
How?
She whispered, her voice hoarse.
How did you find all this?
You sent me the proof yourself, I said, gesturing to the selfie printout. You got arrogant. You thought I was stupid. You and him, planning your little getaway in corporate speak emails, buying lingerie on our shared Amazon account. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? She flinched at the mention of the lingerie, a flicker of shame in her eyes. But it was fleeting. She didn't respond, just stared at the evidence of her double life. I want to hear you say it, I demanded, my voice low and dangerous. No more lies, no more excuses. Say it. She took a shaky breath.
It's not what you think.
She began, falling back on the classic cheater's script. Oh, isn't it? I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Then please enlighten me. What is it? What is booking a hotel suite with your ex-boyfriend under the guise of a business trip? What is going straight from the airport to his apartment? What is all of this? I swept my hand over the papers. Her composure finally crumbled. Tears began to well in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No pity, no sympathy. It was too late for that.
It started a few months ago.
She said, her voice thick with tears.
We reconnected. It was just talking at first, I swear. He understood the pressure I was under at work. He was just easy to talk to.
Easy to talk to, I repeated flatly. Unlike me, right? Your husband, the man you built a life with. I was just the guy who paid half the mortgage.
No, it wasn't like that.
She insisted, looking up at me, pleading.
It got out of hand. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake.
A mistake. The word hung in the air, so small and insignificant compared to the wreckage around us. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash, Jess, I shot back. A mistake is buying the wrong kind of milk. Planning a 3-day affair in another city, creating an elaborate cover story, lying to my face for months. That's not a mistake. That's a series of deliberate choices. You chose to do this. You chose him over me, over us. The room fell silent again. Buster, our golden retriever, must have sensed the tension. He trotted into the room and nudged my hand with his head, whining softly. I absent-mindedly stroked his fur, my eyes never leaving Jessica. What did you think was going to happen? I asked, a genuine question. Did you have a plan? Or were you just going to keep juggling us both until you got caught?
I don't know.
She sobbed, burying her face in her hands.
I wasn't thinking. I was unhappy.
That was the line that finally did it, the final pathetic attempt to shift the blame. You were unhappy? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. You were unhappy, so instead of talking to me, your husband, you decided to sleep with your ex? You live in this beautiful house, you have a career you love, you have a husband who adored you and supported you in everything you did. And you were unhappy? I started to pack a bag. Not for me. For her. I went into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and pulled a suitcase from the closet. I opened drawers and threw her clothes in. T-shirts, jeans, sweaters. I was on autopilot, a machine of grim purpose. She followed me, standing in the doorway, watching me.
Mike, what are you doing? Please stop. We can talk about this. We can fix this. We can go to counseling.
I stopped and turned to face her, a pair of her jeans clutched in my hand. Fix this? I said, the words dripping with disbelief. There is no this to fix, Jessica. It's over. You blew it up. You think a few sessions with a therapist are going to erase all this? I gestured vaguely around the room, at our entire life. There is no us anymore. You made that choice the moment you started sneaking around with him. I'm just making it official. I zipped up the suitcase and wheeled it into the living room, leaving it by the front door next to her carry-on. I want you to leave, I said, my voice final. Tonight. Panic flared in her eyes.
Leave? Where am I supposed to go? It's late.
I don't know, and honestly, I don't care, I said, the coldness in my own voice surprising me. Call Mark. I'm sure he has a spare room. Or a hotel. You seem to be good at finding hotels. The cruelty of the words hung in the air. A part of me, the old me who loved her, was horrified. But the new me, the one forged in the last 48 hours of betrayal and pain, felt nothing but a grim sense of justice. She stared at me, her mouth agape. The tears had stopped. Her face was a mask of disbelief. She finally understood. There was no talking her way out of this. No apologies would work. It was broken, irreparably. She walked slowly to the door, her movements stiff. She picked up her bags. Her hand rested on the doorknob for a moment.
I did love you, Mike.
She said softly, not looking at me. I know, I said. That's the tragedy of it. And then she opened the door, and she was gone. The click of the lock echoed through the house, a sound of absolute finality. I stood in the middle of the living room for a long time, surrounded by the ghosts of our life together. The air was thick with the phantom scent of her perfume. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anger anymore. I just felt empty, a vast hollowed-out emptiness where my marriage used to be. Buster came and sat at my feet, resting his head on my leg, as if he understood. I sank down onto the couch, the papers of her betrayal still spread across the coffee table. The journey ahead was going to be long and painful. Divorce lawyers, selling the house, dividing our lives. But in that moment, one thing was crystal clear. My life as I knew it was over, but a new one was just beginning. It was a terrifying and heartbreaking thought, but it was also the first glimmer of hope I'd felt in days. The story isn't over when you catch them. That's just the end of the first chapter. The real work, the healing, the rebuilding, figuring out who you are without them. And that's the rest of the book. Thank you for listening to my story. It's been a lot. If you've made it this far, hit that like button. It lets me know that sharing this was worth it. And who knows, maybe it will help someone else feel a little less alone in their own storm.